Hello friends, how are you? From today, we are going to learn various chapters of biology of the standard 10. One of the most important aspect that we learn throughout the year is life processes. But before shifting toward the concept of life process, let us understand the definition of science. Do you know friends what is science? Actually, science is an intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and the behavior of the physical and the natural world through systematic observation, experimentation, drawing the conclusion and making the theory and the principles. The most important aspect of the science is that we can test the principles of the science again and again and again. That's the beauty of it. The science includes the study of living and non-living things. When we study non-living aspects, that we call as physical activities, that we call as physical sciences, and when we study the living aspect and the things of the nature, we call it the biological sciences. We are dealing with biological sciences. What is biology? Biology is the branch of science that deals with the study of living organisms or living things. Of course, we have to understand the concept of living. To what thing we will call living and to what thing we will call non-living. This biology is then further, for the study of convenience, we classify into various disciplines. Particularly, it is botany, zoology, microbiology. In botany, we study autotrophic organisms. That simply we call them as plants. In zoology, we study animals, the heterotrophic organisms. And one more branch nowadays recently has improved and developed that we call as microbiology, where we study the living organism that cannot be seen with our naked eyes. And that's what microbiology is. When we talk about biology, the question arises that what is living? Because we study living organism in biology. There are various characteristic features of living things. We have to understand all these characters in order to understand the living thing and in order to understand what biology is dealing for. So let us take review of each one. The first one is growth. Yes, every living organism shows increase in the size, in the diameter, in the volume, in the dry weight. Dry weight is the total organic content of that living organism. The growth in living organism is intrinsic, controlled internally, taking inside, and then it is reversible phenomenon. And therefore, growth is one of the most important characteristic feature of living organism. The second one is reproduction. Reproduction is the process in which one organism gives birth to many organisms of its own kind. This wonderful capacity lies only with the living organism. No non-living things cannot reproduce individual like itself. Therefore, reproduction is a defining characteristic feature of living things. Another important aspect is consciousness or consciousness. It is also called as in biological sciences irritability. In fact, it means the ability of every living organism to give response to every stimulus. You know that when light is there, our eyes blinks down. This is the effect being shown by our body. Similarly, all living organisms shows responses to the external factors, environmental factor to which we call stimuli. Homeostasis. Yes, it is also one of the important aspects that every living organism maintain their internal metabolism, their internal structure, their internal positions in a very balanced manner that we call homeostasis. For example, you know that our body temperature is always 37 degrees Celsius, whether it is extreme cold or extreme hot. So what is that factor which is maintaining this? It is homeostasis, and this is wonderful ability that living organism possesses. Then there is another important aspect by virtue of which the living organism can survive in any extreme condition. You know that living organism exists everywhere on this earth, and therefore this ability of living organism to survive anywhere is because of their ability to adapt. And this, what is adaptation? This is an ability of organism to get adjusted with any external atmosphere by changing in their structure or function or metabolism temporarily or permanently. That we call as adaptations. As you know that there are certain plants and animals which can survive in the desert, while there are certain bears, they call polar bears, they can survive in the polar regions where the temperature is sub-zero. This is due to their ability to adapt. The most important aspect is metabolism. Yes, the living organism from one cell to many cells when it is formed, in the body of living organism, in fact in each and every cell, there is happening a continuous biological process that we call biochemical processes are happening that results into the growth, development, reproduction and so on. That together they are called as metabolism. That include nutrition, transport system, respiration, excretion and so on. As you know that when every living organism grow, it intakes some material in it, and that process is called as nutrition. When once the nutrition is being taken place, the food is digested, then it is absorbed and the materials are then transported throughout the body to each and every cell for making the material of its interest of that living organism. That we call as transport system. Another important aspect of metabolism is respiration. Here respiration means cellular respiration. In each and every cell of each and every living organisms, the food that is reached to the cell through a transport system, that food is oxidized, that what we call as respire. This oxidized food releases energy, and that process of release of energy for driving various metabolic activities is called as respiration. You know that when living organism is performing various activities, there are certain toxic byproducts produced in the body, and these byproducts which are toxic to the body of living organism, it is needed to be thrown out from the body, and this process of collection, accumulation and removal of toxic waste from the body of living organism is called as excretion. Yeah. And for performing all these metabolic activities in higher organism, there are various systems present, while in living organism, which is made up of only one cell or unicellular organism, all these activities are being performed by a single cell. Another important feature of the living organism is movement. Yes, movement is apparent, that we call as locomotory movement in case of animals, and you know that movement is taking place for the food, shelter and the mate, of course for the reproduction. In plants, of course, there is also movement takes place, but these are not locomotory movement, because you know that plants are photosynthetic, autotrophic, and therefore they can prepare their own food material. They don't have to move for the search of food and so. Then there is another important aspect of the living thing is that the living organisms are made up of very specific structural aspect, that they are made up of bricks of their body or unit of their life that we call cells. All the living organisms on this earth except viruses, they are made up of cells. Cells constitute tissues, tissues constitute organs, organ system, and the body of the living organism is formed. And therefore basically every living organism possesses this cellular structure. Every living organism passes through a definite stages of its development, growth, reproduction and death, that we call as definite life cycle. And the most important aspect finally that also plays important characteristic picture of living organism is death or senescence. Every living organism is having a definite lifespan, and which is determined by its genetical material. And this death is important to replace the older living organism by the new one. The carrying capacity of this earth is limited. The natural resources is also limited. In this scenario, the replacement of older one by new one is definitely being caused by death, and therefore death also an important program phenomena controlled genetically, and that becomes one of the most important characteristic feature of living organism. So friends, when we study biology, we have to understand this characteristic feature of living organism, because we are studying in the biology all the aspects of this characteristic feature of living organism in much more detail, describing in various chapters. So that's all for today. I hope you would have enjoyed it. Please ask me the questions through our conversations and don't hesitate to give answer and comment upon it. With this I conclude. Thank you very much.